Little Legends Podcast is a Prediction Esports production. Support us by subscribing to the Prediction Esports Podcast channel on your favorite podcast provider. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Little Legends Podcast. I am your host, Blevins, and joining me today, as always, is Boop. What's up, buddy?
As always, I'm excited to be here, Mr. Blevins.
Hey, Mr. Blevins is my father. I don't know why I said that as Sean Connery, but we were talking about
I was like, Deckard Cain?
Oh,
Is that who that was?
Stay a while and listen to my father, Mr. Blevins, who's also my grandson. I don't know where that was going, so I'm just going to end it there. This is a Teamfight Tactics Podcast, I assure you.
One of these days, we're going to get an intro where we don't immediately go onto a tangent. We swear, guys.
Yeah, I don't mind going on tangents, but we got to start somewhere kind of close one of these times, I guess.
Hey, welcome to this Teamfight Tactics podcast. Now let's talk about Sean Connery.
Yes, let's talk about Sean Connery and Deckard Cain. What if I'm not gonna. I was thinking about just doing an off the cuff. What if they met? But this is absolutely not the maybe bonus content. Maybe if we hit 1,000, if we hit 1,000 subscribers on something. I'll do a Sean Connery meets Deckard Cain ad lib video, but we are seriously going to talk about Teamfight Tactics. Thank you all for joining us here, and let's just start it off with this is our very first episode under the Prediction Esports banner, so we are officially there. Hopefully, you're listening to us there. And we're super happy and excited to be a part of the team.
Yeah, definitely. It's always good to be a part of a team, right? That's how you get to grow as people, a group of creatives lifting each other up. And no, it's good. It's good to be part of the Prediction family. It's been great so far. Things might, hopefully, things will improve as time goes on. And with Prediction and our podcast, eventually we'll get those 1,000 subscribers and we'll get to see the ad lib because that is a nice stretch goal.
Yes, it is, and it's recorded on air, so I can't unsay it. So it has to happen. But guys, make sure you do check out the Prediction. If you're not listening to us on the Prediction feed, if you're listening to us on YouTube or Twitch or wherever, make sure you go on your favorite podcast platform and check out Prediction. That's Prediction with 2 E's. And hit that subscribe button and make sure you're downloading us. I mean, I don't want to. You know, we're the new guys in town. I don't want to ruffle any feathers, but I do want to be the number one downloaded show on the network. I'm just putting it out there, and I think that we can do it. I think that just based on our Discord and the community, I know that we've got that sort of fire to be able to do that. So let's make sure that we are doing that as soon as we can. A couple other things about the community, of course. Game nights happening on Fridays in the Discord, discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. Make sure you're joining there. And another cool little perk for the Discord that I wasn't personally expecting but was pleasantly surprised is we actually got a little bit of an inside peek into Mobalytics' new team builder platform that is not even out yet. It's really a sneak preview for the Little Legends Podcast community. Pulling some strings and people I've known from past lives and past shows and whatnot.
Hashtag clout, dude.
Hashtag something. Hashtag knowing people and making good connections with people. Yes.
No, it's actually been awesome. People are using it too.
Yes.
We have a really cool thing, which is what is it? The synergy bounty or the
the new this one I just put in
build bounties.
The build bounty.
People will use this tool to say, all right, guys, if you build this thing in your game, here's some brownie points, I guess. Maybe we'll try to get like an actual prize or something.
I'll
in
try
the
to do
Discord.
something with it, but
Kind of like, there's that like Meeseeks thing that gives you points or something like that.
Well, people hated that, but I immediately got like 3 messages being like, "Can you turn off the level up thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I sure can."
Definitely, I'm already doing it, but we'll do something there. But basically, you can like show what comps that you're using or challenge people to use a certain comp along with items. It's really good. I've been using it just to kind of like sit there and look at positioning and items just to kind of get like the full breadth of the information without the challenge of actually having to compete as well at the same time.
Yeah, there's just a lot of people in there. It's been growing. Every time I add everyone, Discord tries to warn me, like, "Are you sure you want to annoy this many people?" And I go, "I absolutely do." And it always brings a nice little smile to my face when I see that more people are in. So definitely join that. We've got some cool things already there, and it will always grow as we continue to grow. The things that we're doing will also get better as well. Last little piece, and I swear we're going to start talking about actual Teamfight Tactics. iTunes reviews, guys. Make sure you are leaving iTunes reviews. They are super helpful to us. They're super helpful for us on prediction as well as the original feed. Anywhere that you can, if you have the chance to leave a review, it is very, very helpful. But, okay, enough of that stuff. Let's move in and talk about some TFT, and we'll start where we always start with our weeks in TFT. Boop, any fun, exciting, noteworthy games for you this week?
Yeah, I wouldn't say exciting, but I had another roller coaster. This is just like something that I do is I'll get to Plat 3 or Plat 2, and then I'll be like, all right, I hate myself, and then dip my toe back into gold. And this proves to me that I'm actually a Plat player, right? Because I've gotten my way back into Plat so many times at this point that I know I deserve it. But I didn't listen to anything that I said I would do over the last. We ended the show like, oh, I'm going to use my economy better, right? So I just didn't. And then I spent all my money all the time.
Yep.
And then I was like, why am I in gold again? And then finally I was like, okay, let me try hard real quick. And then I got 5 second places and a win.
Nice.
After that to get me back into where I started the week off. So it was another roller coaster of emotion. It was cool to be with my gold brethren once again, but it was just a little toe dip, just to test the waters, just to make sure everyone was okay, and then went back to Plat, and I've been actually doing pretty good there. I've been running a lot of that Glacial Rangers like elemental comp that we saw during that Omega Esports League tournament so much. And that's pretty much like, if you get everything, that's like a top 4, I've noticed. Especially if you could just get Ash stacked in general. But outside of that, it's been pretty good this week so far. It's been on the up and up. So hopefully I continue on. I want to join you in the ranks of Diamond. I know I can do it. I just got to like not be like in my head. I'll be like, okay, I know I shouldn't be spending money here, but I really want this upgraded unit. I'm going to go ahead and play every comp like Void Assassins. And so
it's like, I really shouldn't be spending money here, so I won't hit the reroll button a 5th time this turn. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. or as I'm saying, I should not be spending click any more.
Click. Click, not click.
Yep.
Oh, can't spend any more money. There's 0 gold. That is a way.
Exactly. But overall, I've enjoyed the changes with the orbs and stuff. I know we'll talk about that later, but I like where the game's at still. I think it's getting a little stale because it's been a while, but that will not be the case next week. That's for sure.
Yeah, next week definitely has some big changes coming, and we will go into some of those specifics, at least on what's on PBE in just a bit. But for me, I am still in Diamond. I can purport that I did fall. Did I fall out of it? No, I was out of it for a little bit. I was back in Plat 4 for a hair, but that was, I think, before the end of the week. I got back up. I actually got up to Diamond 3 for a bit. I was in Diamond 3, and then I fell, and now I'm back in the middle of Diamond 4 right now. I did not have a firm grasp on this patch for quite a bit. it seemed like it took me a little bit longer than some of the other patches to just kind of conceptualize and internalize what needed to be done, because I did what I normally do when there's a new either set or new patch for any sort of strategy game. I'm like, well, I can just kind of do what I did last time, and just like I'll have a more optimized strategy than people who are going to be trying to brew new things. Didn't really work that well because I was very in on the like you said, the Rangers, Knights, Glacial, Elementals, like that sort of core. But before 9.18, it seemed like you could have like the second, like the solidly second, or like somewhere between like second and third best Rangers comp, and like depending on how you built it, like you could still get to a top four eventually. Now it seemed like with the way the boxes have changed, there's more gold, people are getting more high rolls, they're able to have more to play with. Having the like mildly powerful, like mediocre-ish build doesn't seem like it's as strong as it was. Like people are getting higher quicker, and it has nothing to do with the fact that you're in Colorado, Boop. People are getting stronger quicker, and having like a mediocre Rangers comp was just like, well, they have Nartu and a Swain and Shyvana too with a bunch of items. It's like, oh, people get really strong now. And my middling Rangers comp, which was at least like going toe to toe with most of the comps, is now getting 15 to 20 by the top three comps and like barely winning against others. So it took me a while to kind of get a strategy in, but I feel like I just played more. I tried to stay open as long as possible in terms of my comp as well as my items. I would just like, even where I would normally like, I'm always going to build a Morelos, I'm always going to build a Guardian Angel, I'm always going to build those are the two that I'm pretty much confident I'm always going to build. Anything else is situational. I was just not building anything for as long as I could, just making pairs and seeing kind of what the game gave me, which is probably what I should have been doing before anyway. And I felt like it was working kind of. I got a couple of wins, and I also got a couple of bad losses, including one with Void Assassin Force, which did not turn out. I got 8th in that game, and it was weird because no one else was going it, so I without going into the, we'll talk about Void Assassins later. No one else was going it. I had a sword. I'm like, okay, I can just get this, and I was even like getting some of the level 3s, and it just never panned out. So I also had a Void Assassins game where I won and didn't have the Cassassin. I just had a tier 3 Cassidy and Void. So I had a weird week with Void Assassins, but we'll be talking about those for sure. So overall, pretty good week for me. Technically slightly down on the LP front, but
I should just stop. I think that's the third time I've said this. Like, I should just stop going Blade Masters Gunslingers, because anytime I try, right? Anytime it's just me, right?
Oh, okay.
I was Ham was in the room. For those of you guys who don't know, she's who I co-cast with for a lot of the Overwatch stuff. And I looked back to her and I'm like, okay, I was just offered 3 Tristanas and 2 Graves in this pack, right? And I was like, this is a sign. I should just go Gunslingers, right? And but I was like, but watch, I'm gonna get 8th, and then I got 8th, and then no, I just there are just some comps that I just know how to run really well, and Blade Masters Gunslingers has never been that, which is so not my personality, because most of the time when I play games, it's always like as flashy as possible. Right? Like, look at my wonderful personality, can't you tell? But for this game, it's very different. I really leaned into brawlers really early on, and now with Ashe, it's just satisfying to play. Especially how much you're pissing some people off on the other side with your glacial comp.
Yep.
Right, but man, there's just certain things that I just know aren't going to go well. And then I did it 2 times in a row, right? I went ahead and played Gunslingers Blade Masters after, because I heard from a birdie it's a good counter to Void Assassins, and I still got 8th.
Got to build those sword breakers. That's the true hidden power there. Swordbreaker was actually for me low key one of the most powerful things that I have accidentally built on a Rengar ever. I had
Oh, you got like one from a carousel or something, and then
no,
it just like happened.
well, yeah, I had a. I'm like, I don't remember. I don't remember what the circumstance was. Oh, I know what it was. I wanted a sword breaker, but I didn't because I wanted to. I thought I was gonna go gunslingers. I'm like, oh, it's good on it, and I ended up picking it up, which completed my Rengar, and then I just ended up in a Rengar comp essentially. Like I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I get a bunch of stuff. So I ended up in it, and I stacked it, Rengar, and I'm like, multiple games where I was going to lose in Rengar 1v4'd because of the Swordbreaker, like against Gnar, against Shyvana, like these unbeatable 1v1 machines. It's just like sword broken, sword broken, sword broken, sword broken, jump,
Well, I
kill.
mean, Rengar's pretty good at the 1v1
He
too.
is. He is, but Gnar is also pretty good at the 1v1s.
That's true. That's true. Better than Rengar, probably. But before we move on, I forgot, and this is for Osto, who happens to appear on like all of our podcasts.
Yes.
Because,
Also, shout outs to Asta who gave me the idea to put in the
Yep.
what did I call it?
bounties.
The build bounties. Yes.
So I built a GA, Shojins, and Gunblade on Lissandra the other
Ooh.
day, and it was hilarious. I also won the game. So it was like everyone like at home, if you want to have fun, and because like not everyone's competing for Lissandras all the time, even though she is getting a little bit more popular,
She
the
is.
Gunblade thing is not something I've had thought about before, because
Hmm.
you think about it on like Kennen, right?
Yeah.
But it's the same thing, right? So
Right.
Kennen does it like over time. It's all at once for the Lissandra, and hopefully
Hmm.
she gets a good ult off. But at the end, when after she dies, this is actually really funny because she has the Shojins. She keeps ulting herself, and so
Yeah.
she just continuously gets health, and I think it's like the combination of the Shojins plus the Gunblade
Hmm.
plus anyone with AoE abilities is something that you should try at home, because it was amazing. I hadn't had that kind of giggles in a game in a very long time.
I've been hearing some rumblings from top players that Lissandra is actually in a very strong spot. So maybe we should bow down to the seer, the Nostradamus known as Osto. Maybe
I know, right? The Prophet.
the prophet Osto. Uh, who knows what he'll come up with next? But let's move on here and talk about some of the news that happened over the week. And this is where we'll be talking about the PBE changes. But the big one, or I get maybe not the big one. I don't know. But it came out today actually. Riot's 10-year anniversary is coming up, I believe, on October 15th. And a couple of notable things about this: they did kind of allude to some TFT stuff that's going to be happening. Some things that are going to be revealed about the future of TFT. Hopefully in a good way. I'm assuming it was phrased and positioned that it would be in a good way. I have to imagine that Riot is pretty happy with the state of TFT right now. But one thing that you mentioned, Boop, that I wasn't even thinking about is that they released their concurrent player numbers.
Yeah, and it's high. It is really high.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the number, I'm doing this just from memory, it was 8 million concurrent players on League of Legends. And that is obscene for a game. That's peak concurrent. So the total
Yeah.
number of players in a day is probably way more than that. Maybe not way more. Maybe definitely more than that,
Right.
though. And so,
Nope,
and I
everyone
think a lot
plays
of
at
that.
the same exact time, and that's it.
Yep, exactly.
All at one
If you
time,
don't-
they play 2 games exactly, and they log off.
You guys don't know this, but at certain times, no one is playing. But no. But basically, like the reason why that's cool, and part of the reason why I think they were comfortable releasing those numbers is I think TFT really helped the bottom side of that. Right, really make that number feel a little bit better, because it's I think it's a good game mode, and I'm usually not someone who likes non-traditional game modes, right? Or oh, let's play this or that instead of the like ARAM, for example, is a really good one where I'm just like not really too into it. But TFT I think has a little special magic, and I think the people who like TFT love it. And those numbers continue to climb, because good numbers for Riot means good numbers for TFT, which means a potential 1,000 subscribers and a Sean Connery and Decker Kane video coming from Blev.
True, true. I mean, just from my own personal anecdotal experience, as well as at least some number of other folks in the Discord and my personal friends, I hadn't played TFT. I actually went back and looked because I was curious, like trying to remember what hero had just came out and what year that was when I stopped playing League of Legends. It was in 2010 was the last time I like actually played.
I saw you playing an ARAM the other day.
Oh yeah, I've been playing. I've been messing around a little bit. Like I think TFT probably did exactly what Riot wanted, which was get some either old time players like myself who have been playing card games forever. Let's get it. Let's get some of those people back into the League of Legends world. And like I remember, like just getting being surrounded with it. It's like I remember, like I liked all the lore stuff. I liked the characters. I like the kind of the world building that they do. I like the feel of the League of Legends world. I don't know a lot about it. Kenobi is our resident expert at least that I know of, based on the casts that we did.
I know a good amount of lore.
Okay,
give some credit, yeah.
Well, I'll give you credit, but Kenobi was slinging that lore on the cast.
Yeah, man,
he knows the name of every ability. He knows who everyone's sister is. He knows that sounded weird. He knows who everyone's relation to everyone is. And like to me, I'm like, wow, I used to be that for like Magic the Gathering like a million years ago. But yeah, no, I remember liking all that stuff for League of Legends, and back in my day, that stuff wasn't even really fleshed out that much. But like, yeah, if I'm playing TFT and I've had my MOBA time, and I'm not going to get good at League of Legends. I just know that. So I'm just going to do casual. And what's more casual than ARAM? Also, I don't know any of the champions. I don't know how the runes or anything work. It was completely different back in 2010. So I'm like, I'm just going to play the thing that has as much automated as possible and just learn some of these new champions.
Yeah, man. Well, I can always smurf it up with you. I'm not amazing, and I know Kenobi's always down to teach, not to volunteer him, but the lore lord is also very giving.
I'm down. So, I'm down to play some pre-made games of
because if there's anything that I hope you've learned about me is I love trolling. So that allows me to just play whatever the hell I want in any of these games and smurf it up. It'll be fun.
If I'm gonna play regular League, I want to just one trick, no life, one hero. Like, which I know is not the good thing to do, but I want to do that.
It is the good thing to do, actually.
Oh,
so
okay.
in League, wrong podcast, but you kind of want to pick up 3 characters and learn those 3 characters and their mechanics for a while.
That's the new goal then. Let's figure out the 3 heroes I should pick. Also, they have to be TFT heroes. So they're not in
learn
TFT.
Gangplank. He's great.
I could learn Gangplank. Also, I only want to learn S tier heroes, and if they fall out of S tier, I'll probably quit the game. But back on track a little bit. Really cool that Riot released that. I mean, does it have to do with the fact that it's the 10-year anniversary, or the fact that TFT is bringing people back, or getting people more engaged? I don't know. Maybe a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B, but.
Yep.
Overall, good thing. Yes, the rising tides of water will raise all TFT podcast ships, and perhaps eventually someday get me to do a Deckard Cain meets Sean Connery one-act play. Why did I say one-act play? I mean, oh god, I'm digging myself deeper. I don't even have a transition after that. Kaisa has been added into the game. She is a new 5-cost unit. She is a Void Ranger Assassin, currently on PBE, and will be coming into the game in 9.19 next week. Yeah, she's got an interesting ability. She kind of dashes. It's almost like a pike ability, where she dashes to the furthest enemy and then gains a shield and a lot of attack speed for a few seconds. Have you seen her use
in proper League of Legends, that's her ultimate. So whenever CC or one of her auto attacks is applied to somebody, she can ultimate them, and she dashes to where you click and gets a shield. Because since she's an 80 carry or attack damage carry, like getting up close is not like the best thing to start. But if you do it, the shield's there to protect her for a little while longer to try to get more damage in. The other thing about her is that every 4 auto attacks after the 5th one will do % damage health attack. And so like that's why you like are trying to
in league
regularly.
Okay,
yeah,
I'm like
regularly.
I don't remember seeing
so
this.
I'm just kind of describing Kaisa as like a character.
Okay, sure.
It's like in TFT. So like you would get a couple stacks on them, then R in, get the shield, finish off the stacks, burst them down, they're dead, right? And so here in Liga in TFT, it's really cool that they kept the dash there because the dash actually has, in my opinion, one of the best sound effects in the entire game. And to hear that over and over again in TFT will probably start being awesome, but then end up being a nightmare scenario because she seems very strong.
Yeah, she does. When they first revealed her, I'm like, what are like the top comps in TFT right now? There's Rangers, there's Void, different variants of Void, whether Sorks, Brawlers, Assassins, and then there's Assassin comps. So which one does she fit? Oh, she goes. She's the top end of everything. But she seems really cool. I still don't have the ability to play the PBE because I'm a TFT only player technically. They've said that they're going to do something about that eventually, but I can't play PBE, so I haven't been able to test her out. But I have seen, I've been watching Riot Mort streams. He's MortDog247 on Twitch. Definitely check him out. He streams on the weekends. But yeah, just seeing her in action has been really kind of cool. Her ultimate is really interesting because any ultimate on a carry, or really anything, doesn't even necessarily need to be an ultimate, but ultimates especially, so you don't have to rely on items. Anything that will de-aggro a carry is good in my book. And then also the shield, so good. Like if you're in a corner and you're fighting someone 1v1 and you're about to die, you de-aggro, you go to someone else, which is not the best, I guess, switching your target, but going to the furthest target is generally good because you're going to be going to their backline carry a lot of the times. She seems really powerful. She seems like, obviously her synergies are great. Void is getting a change in this next
She's the
batch.
5 cost, so if anyone's getting freaked out, right? Like, don't worry about it. She is a 5 cost.
Yes, she is a 5 cost, which makes sense with her power level and her kind of versatility. And also, they did change Void here in 9.19, or on PBE technically right now. Instead of it being, if you have 3 Voids, your Voids do true damage, it's now switched to a 2-4 split, where if you have 2 Voids, then one of your random Void does true damage, and then if you have 4 Voids, all of your Void units do true damage.
So like the Imperial buff.
Exactly.
It functions exactly like the Imperial buff. You want some lore real quick about Kaisa?
I sure do.
So Kassadin, I believe, is her dad. And Kassadin sent Kaisa. Kenobi, you can fact check me on this one. They're related in some way, but I was about to say Kenobi sent Kaisa.
We're getting confirmation from Kenobi. You're on track so far.
Kassadin sent Kaisa to where the League of Legends things, Ruterra, I think is what it's called, and sent her to get information and kill a bunch of humans. But she ended up liking the humans a little bit more, so she's in this halfway position of being part human and part void, where like part of her is like, oh, I'm evil, but part of her is like, oh, but these humans are actually cool people. And so it's setting up in the lore this like dad versus daughter thing in the lore. So when you see Kaisa's and Kassadin's fight, that's a daddy daughter scenario there.
And what about when that Kassadin is also an assassin and is on the same team and is destroying my team? What do I say then?
Well, then it's a better relationship with her dad than we all expected. And maybe they went to some therapy, some family counseling.
Yumu's ghost therapy.
They did a little bit of they did a little bit of role playing to to talk about things, right? Talk to some empty chairs. By the way, all of this stuff is legitimate. I'm just using it for a joke. But yeah. So I like when you know a little bit of lore, it's really cool because then you can play out scenarios in your head during these games. But Kai'Sa's gonna be pretty interesting in general. A ranger that's going to be up close though is something that something that we haven't seen so far. But the other thing that's really cool is, remember, all shields and heals get increased by ability power.
Yes.
So there could be a way that you build like a bunch of AP on her, so when she dashes, she gets like an enormous shield. And potentially like a Seraph's like put up so she does it again a little bit later.
Yeah.
Because I was victimized by a Rabadon's Yasuo.
Ooh.
Where the shield is increased because of the AP, because there weren't any other options on their team really to have that AP ratio on. So there's going to be like different things to do in order to make her good, but she's going to be super competitive. I doubt we're going to see a Kai'Sa 2 like ever, especially at release. And I'm half expecting them to change her, kind of like what happened to Pantheon, where like Pantheon went into the game and they're like, "Oops."
When we see her actual stats next week in the full patch notes, we should go through it with a fine-tooth comb and maybe compare some stuff and be like, "Oh yeah, 6-second stun, that is completely and utterly broken." We are too naive. Riot. Look what you did. You try.
Hey, but it would track.
That's true.
So,
true.
We shall see. I'm actually really excited for just like a ranger assassin in general, because it's not something you would ever think about, right? That's not an archetype that you would ever think about like to put in this game. But you add the void on top of it, so it's true damage ranger, and you're gonna get the extra crit with the assassin too. We'll see how it goes. It's might be too much of a good thing.
It might be. I think. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Her, like you said, the assassin and ranger, they synergize in some ways because you're getting more attacks off and you're thereby getting more chances to get your assassin crits off, but also you're diving into their backline with a potentially quite squishy champ.
Yeah,
her shield only lasts for 3 seconds
too. In the game too, so she's going to be able to pump out that damage, even though her base attack damage is going to be lower. Her overall DPS output might be compensated. Like in here, they even recommend a Ginsu's and a Static Shiv to get all those procs off. But since she has such high attack speed anyway, if for all of you fellow trolls out there, let's go ahead and stack those AP items. Why not?
Yeah, I think we might be in a just put it on Gnar, might be just put it on Kai'Sa type scenario where you can just put pretty much anything on her and she's going to be okay. But yeah, very excited to play Kai'Sa. I think what's also interesting, and I guess this would kind of bleed into the Mort retort technically, but we'll give you a little preview there. On Mort's stream, he kind of alluded to, and perhaps even outright said, I don't have an exact quote, that this is pretty much roughly the max number of heroes that we'll see at one time, or sorry, champions at one time.
Yeah, so I think they're calling them sets.
Right.
I've heard that language.
It's at least been alluded to that they're called sets, or informally called
and
sets.
That I don't know if this is the thing that like 60 champions a set is like what they want, or no, or something. Whatever. That's probably
whatever the number is. I think there's already,
whatever the number is, but like for a set, they want a certain amount of champions. So the fact that they've talked about things like sets and that they've like has that name does not mean that we're never going to get a new champion ever again, right? I just think they really are kind of they're looking into like the Hearthstone Year of the Dragon type of situation where certain sets will cycle out and other ones will be new, because they could technically put every single champion in the game into TFT. It's just not all together at the same time.
Right. And yeah, this is, I mean, you think about comps like Nobles, comps like, I guess Nobles is the biggest one that needs that, or even Imperials that kind of needs that last, that 5 cost unit to complete the full stack for the synergy. Like the more 5 costs you have, the lower your chances that you're going to get that kill, the lower the chances that you're going to get that Swain. So adding more, I mean, we talked about this when Pantheon came out. It's just adding more is, it it dilutes the synergies overall, which, I mean, maybe they want to do, like they can use that as sort of a nerfing mechanism to those sorts of comps. But I think that,
Well, so I was actually thinking. I'm sorry.
no, go
Like, but do you think that if they dilute the pools, it's actually a buff to 1 cost 5-star units? Because it makes each one more impactful, since you're going to be less likely to find the 2 stars, and so you're either going to be investing more into just having the 1 in there,
Well,
or you're potentially just not going to be using them.
right. It's like what we talked about. I don't remember what our example was, but it's not a nerf to the units themselves. It's a nerf to getting the units,
Yes,
right? Like
and the synergies that
it's
they'll
a
have.
nerf to nobles in the sense that you're not going to have it as often, I guess, which maybe.
But the actual unit, though, like
Right.
say we have all like the stuff in there, right? We have everyone in there, and the pool's diluted. Does it make a single pantheon stronger or weaker in the long run of things? Because since we're going to be seeing less 2-star 5-cost units, right? I think people might commit further to the one cost ones,
Right.
because that would be the power peak at this point.
Yeah. It also might, I mean, Nico's help throws a whole wrench into the math of those things anyway. So maybe it's roughly the same percentage. I don't know. We don't have those stats.
Overthinking. Yeah,
We're definitely overthinking it. It's probably, the long story short is that we're probably not seeing many more champions in this set. Whatever that means officially, we'll probably get some word on it at some point soon. But we did get, I guess these are, I don't know how to categorize these. They weren't officially released by Riot. They're just in PBE, and people on Reddit gave us the numbers. So I guess it's reporting of official. I don't know. Take that for what it's worth. That's what they are. These are all of these PBE changes that we're going to be talking about here. They are all in PBE, or were in PBE at the time of this recording on September 17th, 2019, and they were reported on Reddit. So take that for what it's worth. That's the disclaimer I'm giving you. If anything's wrong here, hashtag blame Reddit. Let's just go through some of these. Were any of these ones that kind of jumped out to you, Boop? We got some pretty big hero changes. There's a couple of item changes here. Was there anything that jumped out to you?
The NAR change.
Yeah.
Which I think is okay, okay with me. Seeing a nerf on a Yordle is like an angel being birthed somewhere else. But the other thing that I think is nutty is the Mordekaiser buff.
Yeah.
So so like 550 damage is actually pretty close, I think, to Aatrox's damage for his ultimate.
Okay, they did. Okay, so one thing to know about the Mordekaiser buff, originally, apparently it got nerfed down a little bit more. So if you look down further,
okay.
It got normalized a little bit.
There it is.
But yeah,
okay.
it was nutty. He was doing almost 1,000 damage with his ult at level 3 Mordekaiser.
And that's not okay. He's a 1-cost unit. But I'm just excited that NAR is getting nerfed, because I think this is actually because it's so high. So to put it into perspective, it's 3.6 to 900 is what he has now, and those are after some buffs, right? So that's kind of new. Going to 250, 450 to 650. So at rank 3, even though you don't really see rank 3 NARs all that often, he'd only have 50 less health than 50 more health than what he currently has at rank 2.
Yeah.
He's gonna have, what is 600 minus 450? Is that 150?
Yes. Wait.
So he's gonna have 100.
Yeah.
I know, right? NA math. So wait.
Yeah. No, you're
right. Okay. So he's gonna have 150 less health at rank 2, which is gonna be huge. But I think this is in response to all the new dodge mechanics that are going to be in the game on 9.19, and this is
mhm.
like to like, all right, like if we're gonna have Nar sitting at 85% dodge, maybe 100% dodge with some items, right? He can't also be super tanky.
Right.
So especially with shapeshifter bonus
Yeah.
as well. So I think this is a good change.
I think, yeah, I think if there were, I don't think, just in what we've heard Mort say publicly, as well as just how they've designed some of the champs, I don't think that they, like, it seems like they are fine with things being, air quotes, broken or very good or very strong or like reaching the upper bounds of infinite. You know, we look at Rage Blade, you can get really high attack speed. You know, Rage Blade plus Ranger. If a Rage Bladed Ranger is also a Blade Master, like you can get some very insane attack speeds, right? But I don't think they want a champ that would literally be unkillable. If you had Gnar with 9 Yordles and a Dragon's Claw and a like Warmogs, probably can't actually kill it. Like it might not actually be possible to kill it statistically.
Yeah, you would need like a crit on your Ace Soul Voice of Light or something in order
But
to do
even
it. Like,
then, you have Dragon's Claw.
oh yeah, that's right.
Like
That's right.
if you put
Which
Dragon's
got
Claw on
nerfed
it, like I don't
for that exact reason.
right. I don't think that they want. I think they're fine with things being strong against others. They're fine with champs being unkillable in certain situations against like certain comps. Like if you build that Gnar and they have all, you know, Blade Masters, maybe you can't actually kill that that Gnar. But I don't think they want something that like objectively, no matter what your opponent builds, you can't
No
possibly kill this.
counterplay. That's
Right.
something that we'll hear in balance all the time, right?
Yeah.
I used to work at a game company, so these are the things that used to get brought up a lot.
Yeah.
Is like fun and interactive, right? Is this fun and interactive, and is there enough counterplay?
Right.
And there's already like with dodge, there's already going to be inherently not a ton of counterplay outside of items. And your wild synergy, which is probably not going to be good anyway.
Well, it might have to be good because I don't know if it's listed in these changes, but I believe they took the unmissable attacks off of all of the items, and now it's just on the 4 wild buff.
Wild
in PBE.
And dodge is a huge thing in this next patch.
Yeah.
So, and to like reiterate how like people are going to be working these, like as a lot of people were really scared about Dragon Yordle compositions going into the next patch because you would already have it got nerfed from 83% to 75%, which I think is pretty minuscule. Maybe we'll see a bigger difference. Like it's a little bit of damage, but
so it's like they'll hit an additional. So it's what, a 13% difference. So they'll hit an extra 1-ish out of 10 attacks that they would have missed before, I guess.
And so like putting dodge on dragons was something a lot of people were excited and not excited about, so they're like pre-nerfing a lot of that because that was always going to be a problem. But that's why like I'm so worried. I've been very outspoken on my opinion on dodge as a mechanic, and this is why. Right, I think it's a very easily abused type of mechanic, and with pro players so good at min maxing, I think the game breaking potential for something like this can be pretty huge. Because what if they didn't like? They did, right? They thought about the dragon dodge mechanic, right? It's right in your face, but they also released Pantheon at the power level that he was at. Right? So it's what if they didn't think of these things? Are we just gonna have to play with demons like the old version of demons for a week and a half? We'll probably get a B patch for this patch because there's just so much changing.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid. I'm afraid of dodge. I do trust Mort. I think most of his claims are grounded in reality and data, right? But this is adding more RNG, not only with items but also with dodge, is something that I'm not sure is the direction I would have gone in.
Yeah, and one thing that we've seen, and I guess we'll talk about this after the break, but we've seen that Riot is using data to make a lot of their changes. I was actually in a data scientist for Riot. I I believe her name is Riot Whiskies. She was streaming some TFT and just talking about some of the data that her team uses to look at TFT. And she was talking about some like really not obviously not specifics, but some like really crazy things that they have access to. And I'm like, okay, well, that's good that the team that's making the game has access to this stuff. It's all about like you can have everything in front of you. It's how are you going to interpret it and actually do something actionable about it. But we'll talk about that afterwards. A couple of things I wanted to note here about some specific hero changes here. I don't know if this is just a misprint on the Reddit post or if this is an actual change, but Vi is actually listed as a 4-drop here. I don't know if that was just a change that they made or if
there's some other things like Braum is misspelled, so I would
so take it for what it's worth.
Yeah.
She did get Vi did get only a minor buff, so probably still a 3-drop. That would be a really weird change if they took,
especially since there's already a 4-cost brawler,
a 4-cost brawler and a 4-cost hex tech. So that's probably just a mistake. So
yeah,
I guess disregard that. But Sejuani getting a pretty sizable, kind of a sizable nerf. HP losing 50 HP from 850 to 800, and then stun duration at a half-second stun nerf on level 1, so from 2.5 down to 2, and then level 2 Sejuani is actually still the same. And then actually level 3 Sejuani is even better now, a 5-second stun for level 3 Sejuani. So good luck to all the people who get to level 3 Sejuani. Jinx getting a bit of an attack speed buff. I think Jinx that is actually super relevant because I think Jinx is like, she was super powerful and super popular when she first got released, and then she got a nerf and really just kind of fell off, except in very niche comps. And I think that this will push her back into like just general usability, but not being like I got a Jinx, I'm going to commit to this no matter what my comp is, and just like throw in one other gunslinger or throw in one other hex tech.
Yeah, remember how impressive 6 brawlers Jinx was?
Yeah, especially with that. The Jinx Blitzcrank combo is still really good and really cool. And actually, Blitzcrank got a pretty huge buff here. His spell damage at level 1 is going from 100 to 250. So he's doing 250 damage right off the bat.
Let's put those Rabadons on Blitzcrank. Let's do it.
Holy crap!
We're gonna do it, man.
He's going from the spell damage is going from 100, 450, 800 to 250, 550, 850. I mean, the 450 to 550. Okay, it's 100. It's just that level 1 Blitzcrank is huge right now. It seems like
Brawlers
he almost should be. Brawlers do need a buff.
Brawlers need a buff, and I think this is part of it, especially since Volibear got a burf. So yes. we won't get super into that. If you want to check out these changes, I'm sure they're listed somewhere. But I just saw the pun on Ash here. This guy did. It's spelled ASSHE. But no, so like brawlers really need a buff, and a big thing that brawlers are missing is damage and early game. And now they're gonna be able to find it, which is cool. I like Blitz as a character, and in regular
Blitz.
League, if you get hooked by Blitz, like you should die, right? So maybe they're just kind of doing that in TFT too. Maybe I doubt that's part of it. Oh, in League of Legends, what happens there?
I doubt that it's that, but maybe. What I do think it is that Blitzcrank. I mean, the whole robot synergy is. This is a really powerful thing as a one-off, at the cost of not providing any other synergies, except for or providing half the number of synergies that the other champs do.
Very good point.
I love Blitzcrank as a hero, just like I love Zephyr as an item. It's like it's one of the things that you can just straight up hand-to-hand combat outplay your opponent and just completely ranch them potentially. And this is just huge for Blitzcrank players, and I guess by proxy Jinx players as well. But yeah, we won't go into any more of these changes. I will link the Reddit. I'll link the Reddit post in the description below that you can look at. I mean, we're going to get official release patch notes on Tuesday next week. On Tuesday next week. So right before we record our episode next week. And we'll go over the actual changes. These are just what's on PBE. But we are going to be talking about the the Void Assassins, I guess, debacle of this week.
It's whole half of a podcast, guys.
Yes.
So that's how much we're going to talk about it.
Yes, but we will be talking about that in just a minute right after this break. Guys, if you are liking the show, please make sure you leave a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to us there. And you can subscribe to us and check us live on Twitch at twitch.tv/theblevins. Of course, the home of all of our content is at discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. All right, guys, we are back here. And as alluded to previously, we are going to be talking about this. I mean, it was infamous before this, but this tweet from Mort, and I guess this will be part of our Mort Retort segment. This tweet from Mort was really kind of threw a little bit of gasoline on the fire, but he tweeted out and said, in regards to TFT, as promised, we checked the data this morning on Monday to see how we're looking balance-wise. Void Assassin is not out of line. It's an inconsistent build that can succeed, he has in parentheses. So we'll be sticking to our plan of no B patch or hot fix. He follows up by saying there are changes on PBE for 9.19 that you can check out, which we just did talk about. But just that in and of itself, Boop, what are your thoughts on Void Assassins, Cassassin, the whole 9 yards?
So I think I'm gonna retort back to you. So my question to you is how important is data for this kind of stuff, right? So it's easy to look at a list. I'm actually going to use Akali in regular League of Legends as the example here. So okay. Akali, like for her entirety of time in League of Legends, has been obnoxiously terrible to balance, right? Because what happens with Akali is everyone that's like gold and below just sucks at her, right? Mm-hmm. They can't utilize her as much as as someone who is diamond or plat or above, sure. Right? And so her win rate has always been around like 44 to like 47%, and I think 47 is high for Akali. But they've nerfed her like 6 times. They gave her a couple buffs like 3 patches ago, but I would say 90% of everything that they've ever done with Akali is nerf her. Okay. Right? They even reworked her entire kit because they thought the other one was too oppressive, and then this one ended up being, in my opinion, even more oppressive. Right? So if you looked at the win rates, Akali would be at the bottom 10 for win rate champions in League of Legends, but the pros were doing very good with her in competitive esports, and so they went ahead and started nerfing her for the top tiers of competition. Right? So when you hear something like, oh, Kassadin isn't even in the top 10 win rates here, what does that truly mean, right? Because if you knew all that stuff about like Akali, and she is in the bottom 10 a lot in terms of win rates, but is oppressive at the highest levels, like how do you deal with something like that? Because I think that's the first time in TFT we've had something like that occur.
Yeah, there's so many different ways you can approach this, which is why we're probably going to be talking about this for the rest of the show. But on the one hand, I think stats are very important. Data is extremely important in this. I think there's a fine line to be walked between public perception of things and what's actually occurring. If it's kind of like the it's not confirmation bias. Maybe it is confirmation bias, where like you're only remembering those games against Void Assassins where you lost horribly. You're not remembering all the games where 3 people tried to force it and they all bottom forward. Like you don't actively remember those games. You're not thinking like, oh, well, there's a counterpoint to that last time I just got dumpstered by it. And that's where the data really comes in. The counterpoint to that is that at the end of the day, and we've talked about this for other things, is like the consumer is we are the proponents and the proprietors of this product that is TFT. And if enough people are upset and don't want to play with this, regardless of what the stats are, it doesn't necessarily matter, right? Like if people are, this is an exaggeration, but if people are quitting the game because of Void Assassins, it doesn't matter if it's just their own personal feelings or if it's data driven that's the case. They're quitting. That's what matters, right? Data is only as important, but the actual circumstances matter. So I don't think it's at that point. But one thing I saw from, I believe the player is Nature's BF. They actually just posted a guide to how to play Void Assassins, and they're also a top 10
I was not
NA
doing
player.
that. I was not doing that when I was playing Void Assassins. Just saying.
Not doing
it. Well, the way that he described it is like something. When I read high roll Void Assassins, I think about just rolling because all the things are low cost, but like you're still developing interest and positioning incorrectly to lose on purpose. Like that was stuff that I wasn't necessarily doing. And
you're talking about the Nature's BF video. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I did post that in the Little Legends podcast discord.me/Little Legends podcast. Definitely check that out. But shameless self-promotion. Got to make sure I get that shameless self-promotion in after the break too. But yeah, I think he asked more when in the thread of this tweet that he put out, he was saying, is this overall win rate or is this just, what level is this at? And Mort said something to the effect of, oh, this is only for high MMR. We're not looking at just win rate overall. And it's like, okay, well, his point was, you don't want to look at Nature's BF's point was you don't necessarily want to just look at number of times that this gets first place, because really there's only, like, you're not able to go this every time, right? Like you want someone to, like, you need to get a spatula. You absolutely have to get a spatula at some point. And like, how often are you getting a spatula? You have to commit to it early. So you basically need to get an early spatula. And if it's like, oh, well,
you're going to be poor the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
You need to be poor and low health the whole time until you like flip that switch, and then you're very, very powerful. So the actual raw number of times that the comp gets first place is not necessarily a significant metric, because people aren't playing it every game. You can't play it every game necessarily, and you can't necessarily play it well every game. His point, Nature's BF's point, was more, what is the win percent or the average placing of it when you get a Yumu's Ghostblade on a Kassadin? What is the percentage of time that a comp with that wins? And I don't know. We just don't know if that's if that's a stat that they're looking at, if that's what Mort meant by that. And I think that is a relevant stat, because you don't want the case to be, I mean, it can be Kassadin, it can be anything. You don't want the case to be that if you get a level 2 Draven with a Bloodthirster on it, you're going to win the game. You're going to your average finish is going to be top 4 every time. You don't want that, because then you're not necessarily thinking of anything. Also, a point that he made in that video is, this is a comp that you can literally, he spells it out, and this is a very good guide, by the way. Shout outs to him. Definitely give him a follow. He's like, at these stages of the game, this is exactly what you should be doing and exactly what you should be going to. And the only real requirements are you get a spatula in the early game or a BF sword like in the opening carousel. If you get that, the rest of this build plays itself. Just follow the recipe.
Yeah.
And I don't think that having that be a common thing is necessarily the best for TFT and the spirit of TFT.
I think his argument then is it's not truly skill based at that point in time, right? Because it's more lottery based. If you get your spatula, then all you need is your sword and you're good, right? And that's something that I've noticed is like, if you get your spatula, you can just do it, right? If you want, you'll probably get most of the parts that you need, regardless. And let me go ahead and like talk about League of Kai'Sa a little bit more, because in League of Legends, when Kai'Sa was released, they said that she would be a very high skill cap, high risk, high reward play style, right? But currently, she's sitting at a 50% win rate in like all levels of play.
Okay.
Right. So there's something wrong there, right? When this comp or this character, right, is is supposed to be high skill cap, but there's still success, maybe too much success at the lower elos where there shouldn't be, that means that there's a balance issue with this champion, right? So she's probably one of the more overtuned champions in League of Legends just in general, which is why I would assume that it's going to happen again in Teamfight Tactics. But the reason why I bring it up is because, you know, if you're a bronze player, you shouldn't be having that kind of success on Kai'Sa, right? Because she should be too high skill cap for you. It should be closer to a Kali stats, right? 40% win rate. But it's not. And I think Void Assassins is gearing towards more that direction than what I think Mort is saying, which is more the Akali thing, right? I think what's happening is, if this build is receiving anything close than a 50%, like, I mean, in a group of 8, a 50% win rate's nutty. But like, if it's finding success that's close to even what plat players are doing, or you know, diamond and higher, which is what he considered high MMR, then that's a problem.
That's me. That's me.
I know, right?
I'm so flattered.
Start making that TFT money. Lol. But yeah, the reason why I bring it up is, like, if it's even throughout, right? If we do look at the lower stats and it's still finding that kind of success or even moderate success when it's supposed to be high skill cap, then you have to look at it, right? Then it's not doing what you're saying. And listening to what you just said too, and reading his guide, because he does put it out by stage. He's like, at stage 2.6, do this. At stage 3.5, do this, right? And then if you just memorize these things, then it is just the lottery option, right? Then the strategy is more that memorization, and the complexity of it goes. The complexity of the strategy depletes the more often you do it, right? And when everyone starts doing it, then where does it go?
Right. And I mean, the counterpoint is that that Mort may, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it's like, this strategy, you can't do it every game, right? If 3 people are going for the Void Assassin high roll, it's going to hurt them all, right? And they're all going to suffer for it. If you know, you don't get the spatula or the BF sword early, it's going to hurt. You might not ever be able to get it, and you might just crumble. If you yeah, I mean, there's a number of factors, like, if you get the spatula and you get all this and you're the only person running it, but you play it wrong, kind of like I did last week. I got 8th with it because I'm an idiot. Like, you can still play it wrong and do poorly with it. But I don't know. Like, I'm personally, like, very torn. I keep getting, like, swayed one way or the other, right? I want to note that, like, I think that the changes that they're making in 9.19 are going to mitigate some of this, but it's not Void Assassin specifically that is the problem here. I mean, it is in this case, but like, this type of comp, I mean, you can really kind of fill in whatever sort of high roll strategy. I think
high roll gunslingers is probably like the most common one after that.
Right. There's apparently a new one running around, high roll shapeshifters, like 3-star Nidalee and Elise and like Jace and
That's
stuff.
Fun.
Yeah, which is interesting. Like, I personally like, as a strategy, there being like, you know, I'm not going to go for econ and just get to 50 and stay as open as possible, because like, there's skill in that, and that's fun, and like, being open and transitioning is a skill that I think should be rewarded. But also, like, I want to be able to like take a look and be like, no one's running any Nidalees or Elises right now. I'm just going to roll and take them all. I want that to be a strategy too.
So yeah, I think like the big thing here, though, especially with the difference with shapeshifters, is as a strategy, you don't need the spatula. Right? And it's not like that auto win thing. There's more counterplay. And remember, that's something that we've talked about before, right?
Yes.
Oh, there's not enough counterplay, so we need to change it. And so once someone gets this, there is I mean, yesterday I ran it, and my cast in literally 1v5 to team, right? I had all the right items and stuff on it, and that is a strategy, but that wasn't even fun for me. Right? It was like, you know, I rolled my eyes, and I think that's what it kind of really boils down to, is it might strategically be okay, right? And in terms of win percentage, might actually be fun. But I think the fact that it's an assassin comp and that feels really cheap, right? It just feels cheap, like you said, means that you're going to have a little bit more disrespect for when people do it anyway. right? And so you get the spatula and you're like, cool, I can just high roll these assassins and pick up all the assassins that I see. Well, the right ones, right?
Right.
And then once this happens, then everyone else in the lobby is going to have a really hard time, because once I do get this locked in, the counterplay to it is non-existent outside of the gunslingers, blade masters, which unfortunately is like bad against everything else.
Yeah.
Right. So the counterplay options for them, they overcome, I think, too often too, right? Like Morg can do a good job, right? But with a crit, Morg's gone. Or what if cast and hits work first, right?
What if you don't get
Kennen
the GA?
can do a
What
good
if you
job,
yeah.
right? Yordles can be fine against it. I mean, you can build a Phantom Dancer for one person, right? But then you get into the whole conversation of, well, if there's a Void Assassin thing, then everything I do has to be in counter to that, regardless of what else is in the lobby.
Right.
And that's what I think really starts feeling bad.
Yeah. And two things that makes me think of is I believe, well, I'm sure plenty of people have said this, but I believe I remember TSM Keen saying this, is like, people ask him in his chat, oh, how do I counter Void Assassins? How do I position against Void Assassins? He's like, well, what you would do is put your Ashe frontline and have your backline, or have your frontline champions in the back. But this isn't a 1v1 game. It's not like in Magic the Gathering where you have your sideboard cards and you put them in against this deck and you can beat it. It's like, unless you're in the last two, you can't do that, because if you put in your Ashe frontline and have your Knights in the backline, you're just going to lose to everything else. The other thing that I think it was Tabs, who won the Omega Esports League Invitational that we casted. Again, hashtag shameless self-plug. He was saying that you can't... oh God, I completely forgot where I was going with this. He said, nope, completely lost it.
You're gonna get there.
I'm gonna get there. Oh God, I'm just gonna
leave the room and come back.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna, just like this thought left my mind. I'm just gonna leave the room, and come back. Oh no, this is what he said. I remember what it was. Okay, I'm gonna say it before I forget it again. He's saying he had this situation happen maybe multiple times to him, where it's Void Assassins is the strongest comp, and he has maybe a Rangers comp or something that is very clearly the second strongest comp. He's winning every match in the lobby except for the Void Assassins comp, right? Well, he gets queued up against the Void Assassins comp 2 out of the next 3 times, takes 25 each time, and gets 4th or 5th place, having the second best comp. That doesn't feel good, right? Where like, it's like, okay, I can, because of the way TFT works, I can accept I don't have the number 1 comp, okay? That's fine, but you're kind of expecting that there's like a little bit of a rock, paper, scissors. Some of the games, there's one comp and one build that is just far and away stronger, but usually it's like mine beats this one, my comp beats comp B beats comp C, and then comp C beats me as comp A. And like, depending on the matchups, I'm going to get either first, second, or third. I'm fine with that in that case. But it's like, I should get second, but because of the RNG that they had and the RNG that I had in facing them, I'm getting like completely destroyed by facing them 2 out of 3 times and just get 5th in a situation where I should very clearly have gotten second. That's what he was, Tabs was talking about.
Well, I definitely see that, and I think you can make an argument for counterplay there, right? Because if Voids counter Rangers, or Void Assassins just in general counter Rangers, that's fine, right? But like, what else is there? If Slingers were better, then we probably wouldn't be having this conversation, right? But because what is good against Void Assassins is not good against anything else, right? You're getting penalized for not getting a spatula, right? And you're hoping at that point in time that just multiple people in your lobby are going to be running this comp, so it depletes the pool a little bit. But even then, I've seen people pull out cast in 3s all of a sudden, where this one dude has like a cast in 1 with a spatch on it, and and it is still doing all right. So you combine the fact with the fact you combine it as well with the fact that a lot of these units are 1-cost units and 2-cost units, and so they appear more frequently. And so the counterplay should also be, well, since they're going to have less people on the field, they shouldn't be as oppressive, right? Because you're not really leveling. You're going to be level 6 when some people are going to be level 8, right? And it should be more, but it's not, right? And I think that's like where a lot of people have a hard time with it. Like, I get it. I get what Mort's saying, and I think that is a legitimate argument, right? But as a developer, it's really dangerous to just make a change because the community wants it, right? Because what does that do? It opens up. It sounds, that sentence sounds bad, right? But what does it do? It's sometimes, most of the time, the community isn't coming from a place of actual knowledge. They're coming from feelings, right? And so when pro players get involved, then you start kind of thinking about it. But again, it's still opening a can of worms once you just listen, right? Oh, you guys didn't like Void Assassin, so we're nerfing it, right? So what does that mean for the next nerf, right? Does the community just get to choose at this point? The dev team loses autonomy, and that's something that you have to avoid in a game like this.
Yes, I agree. I want the dev team to have 90+%, 99% honestly autonomy, but I just want them to have an open ear, which they seem to be having, for what it's worth. I don't have any. I have not been given any.
There are Cassidon nerfs on the PBE.
Right.
So.
Yes. Yeah, I don't want. And the other thing that Mort said was, he thinks that there's more counterplay that's not really being explored as much. One thing that can be really good against a comp that has 2 fewer units than you is something like Zephyr, giving them one, even another unit less than you. Like things like that can counter that. But I keep coming up with these rebuttals to the rebuttals, but the rebuttal there is like, again, it's not a 1v1 game, right? You can build things to counter Void Assassins, possibly. Even if we just accept that as a fact that we could be doing different things to counter Void Assassins, it's like, is like going for my items to build an extra Zephyr versus a Morello's or a GA, which that item is built of 2 components of that. Like, is that going to be better in the long run against the field? That's what you need to, like, if it was 1v1, sure, yeah, build it as that, like, put your sideboard cards in to reference Magic the Gathering, put your Zephyrs in, do this, position your Ash in front line. Like, yes, I get it, but you can't do that because you're also facing off against Gnar and Draven and all these things. So,
well, and then like you go to an extreme, right? Say there is a Void Assassin in your lobby, right? And everyone builds against it. Everyone builds a Zephyr, right? That's exactly what you don't want either, right? You don't want to get locked in. Well, just build Zephyr. Okay, cool, but like, I don't want to just build Zephyr because I have to, right? The best part about this game that I think is better than Underworlds is how versatile items can be.
Yes.
Right, and that your knowledge of items can decide your lobby, right? Because even though this guide says to build Shojins, blah, 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 right? Like, you can adjust that and customize it for your lobby and potentially overcome some even greater weaknesses, right? But when it's just like, well, just build Zephyr, well, then everyone needs to build Zephyr. And then when your Void Assassin comp gets 8th place in the lobby, what's your Zephyr doing? Right? Like, then you've just been forced to build something that you never wanted to build, that your hands were tied to do anyway, right? And giving examples of counterplay is not the same thing as like experiencing it and living it, right? It's kind of like it's looking for confirmation bias, right? It's like, if say we were in an argument, right, and we were arguing something super benign, right, that like water is wet, and then I'm like, well, actually, when it's sunny, it's not.
Technically, ice is a form of water, and it's not very wet in its solid state.
Yeah, but like if you use edge cases as your main argument, you're never gonna win, right? And I really think that that's where that Zephyr thing comes from, right? It's like, yeah, build Zephyr, that's cool, but I don't want to build Zephyr because 7 other people in this lobby don't need it, and I need this item to beat this Ranger comp, right? I need this Morello's to beat this other comp, right? So now you're asking me to. I don't know why I'm so heated all of a sudden. So like
because
now you're
the
asking
Zephyr,
me-
like I like Zephyr personally, but it is costing you half of a Morellos and half of a GA. That's
Yeah,
the
and-
cost of Zephyr.
And they want to avoid these chest like openings, right? So that's what he's asking us to do, is to have a chest like opening, to be like, okay, build a Zephyr and then start your game. Right? And then, okay, cool, I don't have a Zephyr, so I lose. Oh, okay, cool. Like I have a Zephyr now, and there are no Void Assassins. Yeah,
Right.
and that's okay, but like to just say that there's other counterplay that no one is exploring is a little bit of a cop out.
Yeah, especially since like spending an item, like using and combining an item, is like a huge investment, because there's really there's a finite number of items that you get, and it's like, well, if I use a Zephyr, it's like I already, like if I just had a Zephyr lying around and I'm choosing to build, okay, sure, but like if I have to spend my carousel round going for that Giant's Belt to build, or no, Zephyr is, no, okay, I was wrong. Zephyr is not, I'm thinking of red buff. Zephyr is Giant's Belt plus Negatron Cloak. Okay, so forget what I said about GA. It's Bloodthirster, I guess, or Hush. Regardless, like if I have to spend my round getting a Negatron, if I spend my carousel round getting a Negatron Cloak or a Giant's Belt, where I normally would have gotten a recurve bow, a BF sword, a needlessly
Or
large
gloves
rod,
in the next
or
patch,
gloves
right?
in the
Like-
next patch, like that is a huge investment, I think.
But just build Zephyr, Blev. That's the counter. Like, you see what I mean?
Yeah, no, I
right?
do.
Like, I think that kind of retort takes the intelligence out of the general population a little too far out of the equation, right?
Yeah.
It's like it kind of feels like, well, you dum-dums, just build Zephyr, right? But
yeah, it
that-
feels like
that's-
that, and it feels more like, well, like if you're taking it from like that sort of argument, like and I'm going deep into Magic the Gathering here. It's like, okay, well, if you want to beat tier 1 deck, like you need to have these sideboard cards in your deck. And okay, that kind of makes sense in the 1v1 playing a match against someone that you know you're going to play the match against. Okay, and being able to adapt to that, sure. But also in the like even deeper Magic the Gathering is like there are things that on the surface look like they would be very good. And sorry, people who don't know anything about old Magic the Gathering here, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here. Old Affinity back in the day, that deck was tier 1, like unbeatably good in standard, and Wizards printed cards. It was a deck that relied on artifacts. Wizards printed a card, I think it was called Shatterstorm or something, that is just 4 mana, destroy all artifacts, which on paper, okay, great, that's awesome. Like you're playing against an artifact deck, you have a card that destroys all artifacts, just play that, forehead. You look back at the stats from that era, and that card had no effect on the win rate against Affinity because they would just kill you anyways. So
Yeah,
I'm not
well-
even sure if Zephyr is good. It might be, but I haven't seen it. I don't know. In theory, it seems like them going from 6 units down to 5 versus my 8 would be good, but they're crushing me with the 6. Is the
I
one
think,
going to be even better?
Yeah, well, and to kind of piggyback off you for a little bit more recent times, for everyone who's not
This
a
was-
boomer
yeah,
here.
this was back in like 2004, by the
Even
way.
though we're the same age. I think Hearthstone is another one that you
Yes.
can start talking about, right? Well, then put this card into counter, right?
Right.
I actually a commenter. This is like the first time I've ever used like a comment on a Twitter thread, like as actual, like, oh my god, that was smart.
Yeah.
But someone likened it to Quest Rogue.
Someone
And
posted a Reddit post about that too. I didn't read it yet, but
yeah, and so Quest Rogue was stupid, right?
I
Not
love that
only was
deck,
it
by
like
the way.
it was stupid. That's probably why you liked it,
Yeah,
right?
It
Because
is.
it had a lot of zero cost cards in it, and the counterplay was, well, put these cards in your deck. Well, only some of classes could have that card,
Right.
and by the way, this card also sucks.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, why am I going to put this in my deck and make it weaker versus everything else? Just like we were saying about the Zephyr thing, right?
Yep.
And it's just like, that's such an easy thing to say, right? It's a good band-aid to a problem. Well, the counter to Quest Rogue is board clear, right? And so, like, Warlocks would have a would be okay with it, but still, right? It's
But
like,
also, is it actually a good like? Do you have stats that say? I don't know if this is the actual card or not, but do you have stats that say if you cast Twisting Nether against Quest Rogue, your chances go from 30% up to 60%?
Well, no, because that deck also had backup mechanics, right? And I think that's another thing that people don't think about. It's Void Assassins doesn't just work because Cassian is an assassin, right? Like that's not the only.
They also
reason
run
this
Zephyr
works.
too, by the way, a lot of the times.
Yeah, and like like there's other things that make that good, right? It's the fact that Rek'Sai isn't an assassin that I think also makes that a little bit better, because then you can get people out of corners by putting Rek'Sai in the middle, right? And it's not just one or the other, right? It's not an A plus B equals C type of situation, right? There's too much nuance and too much, other stuff going on to say, well, Zephyr might counter one aspect of this, right? But when it's over after 8 seconds, you're still probably gonna. I mean, it's because it's assassins and they can one-shot people, right? That even with 5 people, it might be enough, right? I remember, in that game that I won, I was beating people with 7 units at like 5 units, right? Without even the full assassin, synergy, because I don't think a Zephyr would have even helped. Right, I was at 4 units for forever, and I was at the top of my lobby because I was doing it wrong. Right, but again, I was doing it wrong, and like, if you take anything out of that guide, it's the fact that it's so good, you have to purposely position poorly to lose. Right, and so, and I think that lose streaking is one of the bigger brain things that pros can do that I have no idea how to do correctly.
I lose streak a lot, not on purpose, but.
But like the fact that this is good, that you only need a couple components and you need to purposely lose in order to lose, again, shows that it is stronger at other parts of the game. So that's the thing, like with Quest Rogue and whatever artifacts that you're talking about, right? It's Quest Rogue also had the ability to redo their board because most of their cards were 1-cost or low-cost cards, right? You got your Scaled Lizard, your 2-cost, 1/3, that's all of a sudden a 5/5 and then a 4/4. It got nerfed so many times, and eventually they just had to kill the deck. And I think that's like, they don't want to, outside of like the demon mistake that they had before in Pantheon, even though this didn't happen, I think TFT is really trying really hard not to kill anything, right? But we're getting really, really close to. It might just be time to kill this deck, like kill this archetype or something else, because the player base is getting pissed. And while we don't want to give them as much leeway as we want, right? Like, they have the numbers, and people stop playing, but. Then again, we might have all had this conversation for naught, because there's so many changes going in next week, but we might only have one more week of this anyway.
Well, I don't think, like, and the reason I'm perfectly fine having this conversation, knowing that the changes on this upcoming Wednesday, or I guess a week from this Wednesday, so a week from tomorrow in our land, in our reality, is because I think that this is going to change, but. It's this type of thing can still happen again. Like, maybe it's not Void Assassins, maybe it's something else. Like, oh well, if I get 2-star Draven with these items, I just win every time. It's like, well, like let's take a look at this, and because like we want it to be more like rock paper scissors. They want it to be more like rock paper scissors. Now it feels like, with the exception of Void Assassins, it does kind of feel rock paper scissors ish, but it's like. Rock, paper, scissors, but also there's a bigger rock that you sometimes can get, and none of the other things can beat it
like
if you get the big rock.
In elementary school, that was like, this happened to me. That was like, oh, God's one of the ones that you could do for rock, paper, scissors, and God beats everything. And it's like, it just tells you a little bit about my upbringing.
Right. And then I asked, can they microwave a burrito that's so hot that even they can't eat it? And then they go cry to the teacher, and I get kicked out of church school. Hashtag Bart Simpson life. My upbringing was surprisingly close to Bart Simpson's. But the long story, I guess the wrap up to this is, I think it's going to, like, this specific instance is going to change significantly. And like, maybe we open this back up, maybe it's still just as oppressive. I think at the very least it's going to be less consistent, right? Because you're going to need to do a very specifically different thing this upcoming patch, right? Like you're going to either need to get a Cho'Gath or a Kaisa in order to have the void power. And I think like no one's making this argument about like Imperials, right? Like we're not seeing like, oh well, if they just get the Swain, then it's over, right? Like they have the Imperials, they just win. No one's saying that, right? And like I would imagine it's probably easier to get a Swain in any given game than it is to get a Spatula. So I don't know. But I think it's going to change. I do think that this type of discussion about this like type of comp that's like very cookie cutter, very strong, has like little counterplay. I think there are things that you can do. I don't think it's as unbeatable as people think, but I also don't think it's as like the solution is as easy as what Morta's thinking. I don't think either side, either extreme is particularly
like
correct.
imagine all of this, right? We just had this conversation, right? And we were at work at Riot Games having this same conversation.
Which they probably are.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's like they probably had this exact same conversation 20 or so times. They probably had 15 meetings that could have been emails, talking about this.
Because Riot Games is still a corporate company and those things still happen.
Yeah, exactly. Most meetings can just be emails, by the way, everyone. Yes. But yeah, like I understand that it's hard and people like, me and you can be very passionate about it. I don't think it's as oppressive as people say. Because there is that trade-off of getting 8th. Like, it's a 1st or 8th type of thing, right? And I do believe that there should be comps like that in this game, right? But it's a little too easy to grab it. Like, if this is the type of comp, I would rather the Assassin, Void player have, like, 4 HP. Or have this be, like, a late-game type of thing where, like, you could just die by never getting it, which can happen. But, again, it's like first pick on Carousel if there's a Spatula, right? It's a little easier.
Yeah. It's just like a lock and load. I like the ability to be at a point in the game, probably not the opening carousel, where you can like put your finger in the air, look at the other comps and be like, yeah, no, I'm going all in. I'm going to grab every single Akali. No one is running Tristanas. I'm going to 3-star Tristana. I'm going to 3-star this. Like I want that type of strategy to be strong, but I think that the problem is that you want there to be counterplay potentially from the opponents, and also there to be a few other, like there should be more qualifying criteria that makes it a good decision to make. But I think we've kind of checked all the points there. Let us know what you guys think. I mean, it's kind of moot maybe because it's changing, but I'm interested to hear what you guys say. Let us know in the Discord, and we'll continue the conversation there. Do we want to talk about the loot boxes? I know we talked about it a little bit before. What are your thoughts on the new?
So I actually think most people like it. Right? Am I crazy? Have I not?
I've heard both sides. I've heard pretty. I don't know if I've heard anyone say that they're like overwhelmingly in favor of it, and I have heard people say that that they don't like it, like the new.
This is a conversation that's. I'm fine with it. I actually kind of like how it is right now, especially for someone like me who likes to spend a lot of money. Sometimes getting an orb that has 20 gold in it is like, oh, I can get interest this turn.
Yeah,
is nice. It's always going to be this argument, and people will have opinions if the items aren't the same all around. But I do feel like it is a little bit more balanced, like overall, and I'm actually cool with it so far. So. That's kind of where it ends for me.
Yeah, I've seen the full spectrum of like, oh, well, I really want my items early, and I feel like I'm at a huge disadvantage if I have items early, if I don't have items early, to people saying, I just want gold in the early rounds. Just give me gold. I'll take no items, please.
I never thought of that.
I saw multiple players who are in the top 10 on NA saying that they would just rather have gold early, because I think they kind of not necessarily normalized exactly, but have made it so that you're getting I don't know if it's the same number or a similar number of item components by the end of the game, essentially.
I'm into the gold change. actually.
Yeah.
But items is like a big part of this game, and so
It
would take a
is.
lot of I think it would take a lot of like the casual fun out of it.
Yeah.
Building Hydra on graves, for example. But
I think we should see completed items more often. Like,
maybe
just
maybe.
give
I
us
don't know,
the
man.
Zephyr, or just give us
this is one
the...
where I kind of like throw my hands up in the air and be like, "Good luck, guys," because I have a good head for this kind of stuff, but like this one, like because of what they're trying to do, is always going to be difficult. They've kind of backed themselves into a corner here, but they're doing it, and I like that part of it, right? That they're almost unforgiving about the reasoning behind this, which is, in this aspect, is great with items because there's a little bit more arguments for both sides, as opposed to Void Assassins, which is a little less so.
Right.
Because not all situations you can apply the same rules to, right? So this time around, though, with like items and loot, gold early is really, really nice, and it does even up. But I think what it does is it gives players who lose an excuse to be loud about it, right? Rather than really looking in, because every time, like, and this is just a heuristic observation, right? Just based off my own games, when I see someone in chat, and again, I don't know why people still do this. You do not have to type /all in chat to talk to everybody. But someone's like, I didn't get any items, and I look over halfway through the game, and they're like always in the top 4.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, why are you complaining? Right? Like, maybe, again, like, you remember because of recency bias that time you didn't get items and got 8th, but I don't really feel like that happens all that often.
Yeah. I think that managing economy is one of the skill-intensive parts of the game that people don't... it's not just getting up to a high economy or rolling down to a low economy. It's knowing when you should do either and at what point you should stop or keep going. That is a real skill tester in this game. I mean, remember when we were casting OEL, like Crowan is like a master of knowing exactly what he needs to get to. Like a number of times how many times have you been rolling for an upgrade and stopped when you had like 20 gold left? For me, not very often. I'm usually very binary with my gold spend. It's either I'm only scraping off the top above 50 or I'm going down to 0 a lot of the times.
So, like, my favorite is like when you do roll down to 20 and you stop, but the unit you need is there. Right. Yeah. And then you buy it. And then you're like okay, well, 16, I'm at 18 gold. I might as well go to 10. And of course, when you hit 10, another unit you need is there.
Ooh, there's a 5 cost here. But just 0 gold. I'll just keep it on my bench.
Exactly. I can sell it back. It's the same thing.
I agree. I think like getting items early it's skill intensive in that you don't I think that you don't want to build your... I think you want to hold out.
Yeah, exactly.
Building.
How many times do you like even like have items at the beginning that you build, unless you like get a GA or like something for a unit that you know you're going to have to the end of the game?
Very rarely. I think that's why I think it's just worse to get items early. I think I'm in on the gold. Like the gold, I think you have much more leeway to spend it early or invest it, and like you're getting that advantage. One thing that Mort said was that like if you're under the assumption that everyone's getting the same number of boxes, it's that some of those boxes are going to have different things. If you're like going under the assumption that every player has roughly the same like average, I'm just going to call it like value points worth of stuff, whether it's gold, units, items, etc. If everyone has the same number of value points open from each box every round, it's how you press that advantage, right? Like that is going to be relevant.
Which is a skill within itself.
Exactly. Are you going to build your items early and get a good win streak going? Okay, that's an advantage pressing. So if you're getting those items early but you're not using them, you're squandering that advantage that someone who has gold early is either going to save it and automatically get that interest advantage, or they're going to spend it and get that power up in their terms of their comp advantage. The getting early gold, I think, is the easiest advantage it's easiest to take advantage of it, but it's harder to do it correctly, I think. So I don't know. That's my thoughts on that. I like the new system. Honestly, if I didn't hear people complaining about it as much, I probably wouldn't have noticed much difference. I just kind of got over the like, oh, well, I only get a couple of items start. Like, I feel it for like a second of like, oh, well, I only got one item in the old patches. And then it's like, by the end of the game, I'm like, I have roughly what I need most of the time.
Well, what do gamers like to do? Complain.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of our top 3 things. Number 1 is drink G Fuel.
Yes.
Number 2, number 2
not
is
an
to
ad.
game, and then number 3 is to complain about something, right? Because
Yes.
with passion comes opinions, right? And I think this is just an example of that. And everyone's entitled to their opinions, but sometimes they're wrong. And I
Many
think that
times even.
yeah, and just because someone thinks differently than you doesn't mean that they're wrong, right? And you might feel very passionately about your opinion and what you think, but you have to be able to open your eyes and think about, oh, but there's this thing. Oh, but there's this thing, right? Just kind of like how we like peel the onions back on that Void Assassins thing,
Yes.
right? Like it's hard to do with a lot of
Right.
things, but sometimes you have to truly understand where
Voids are like onions.
from, right? And so I think with this like loot system, I'm actually cool with them keeping like this loot system going for a bit and like not touching it because I'm cool with what it is right now until they do fix some of the other balance issues in the game. Especially since I don't know if you just saw this, but Mort just tweeted that he's locked in everything that's going to go onto the PBE/patch 9.19. That's all going up tomorrow. So there's going to be no new additions outside of like hot fixes and stability things. He said that's going to go past what's going to be on the PBE tomorrow. So tomorrow's going to be a big day for us TFT peeps. Yes. Tomorrow being September 18th.
Yes, the Wednesday. Right? Yeah, Wednesday. Awesome. That is cool to know. But yeah, let's round out the show like we normally do and talk about some of the comps that you guys posted in our Discord. Again, discord.me/Legends Podcast. I know a lot of you have come and joined the conversation in the community. We really do want you to be there. Post your comps. Even if you're just lurking around and just want to see what other people are talking about, that's fine too. You don't necessarily need to be super active and talking. You don't need to come to every game night, but you certainly can, because I think we do try to have as much fun as we can. And I know I speak for myself and Boop here that we are open to suggestions and everything that you have there. We do have some text channels for show suggestions and whatnot. Anything that you want to see. Can't promise that we can do everything, but we will certainly put out a good, honest try. But with that being said here, let's take a look at some of the comps. We got one here from Beddits, who posted a this one. I had this one first just for you, Boop. A nice little 6 Yordle comp here with a couple of extra sorcerers. A level 2 Karthus as well, taking down first place.
I wish it. The next person who posts a 6 Yordle comp in first place is getting banned from Discord.
I hope it's me.
I feel like at this point it's just a personal attack.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm taking this personally. It is an attack on me and my ideals.
No, what's going to be really funny is when you look at a comp and you're like, "Ha! It's only 5 Yordles," and then there's the comment is, "I made my Shyvana a Yordle too."
Yeah. Or when it's me, I post the comp and it's all 6 Yordles, and I have to just put my tail in between my legs. And be like, guys, I got like a level 2 Gnar super early. Like it'll be like an entire novella of like, sorry, like this is why I did this, right? This is why I still hate Yordles.
Shame. Oh wait, actually, hold on. I do have. Nope, I'm not gonna go for it. That's too risky. I was gonna say I do have some sounds on the soundboard, but that's a whole different place. Maybe next episode I'll have some sounds for the soundboard here. Let's go and talk about this one. This one is a not quite 6 Yordles. Actually, only the 2 Yordles, the Gnar and the Kennen, which I think we see quite a bit because they're both just individually very powerful. But a level 3 Nidalee This is actually the full suite, the full Monty, 4 wilds. We got the level 3 Nidalee, level 2 Gnar, level 2 Rengar, and a Warwick, as well as
Wild Elemental.
yeah,
Very
wild
interesting.
elementals, and then just, you know what, just a Sejuani for good measure, giving you the glacial buff on the Anivia here, as well as just, I mean, Sejuani is just like just play Sejuani. You
Good
can't.
classic unit.
Yeah, really really good unit. That one is by Joey with an umlaut on the O.
Julie.
I'm sorry, I'm using people's in-game League of Legends names, so if it's different than your Discord name, I apologize. I didn't capture all of those, so sorry. We look here. We've got one from Twin Suns. It looks like a Void. It's a Void Assassins comp, but I don't necessarily know that this doesn't. It's not the hyper roll, unless he got. There's no way this could be the hyper roll because there's too many other things. We've got a level 3 Caston. Okay, then we got Cho'Gath. We got Rek'Sai, Rengar. Oh, this is more of a Rengar comp, actually, but has a tier 3 Caston. Rengar, Gnar, Ahri, Lulu, actually, and Warwick here. Is that all? That's another four wilds, actually, getting first place. Maybe we're seeing a trend here.
You heard, folks, here first. Wilds, most broken comp in the game. Screw your Void Assassins. It's 4 wilds plus anything you want is how you should be running this game.
Yep. You could say they're running
Oh,
wild.
God. Boo. You should boo yourself.
I'm glad I didn't get the shame bell out from the soundboard. Next up, we've got A-Rock52 here with, this is one of my personal favorites, level 3 Gangplank, which he noted in the Discord that also had a Rabadon's Death Cap, which I just like to call Kaboom.
I love that build, actually.
Yeah, it's so fun.
I call it popping pimples. When,
God.
especially when it's against
Now I want to
Yordles.
throw up. Yes,
Pop
that's
those
true.
pimples.
That is true. The Gangplank, level 3 Graves as well, and level 3 Trist, Guardians, and then a couple more Gunslingers. And it looks like maybe no.
Got a Blade Master in there.
You got a Shen. Two of those units could have been turned into Blade Master. Oh wait, one of those units probably was turned into a Blade Master because I forget that Gangplank is a Blade Master himself. So probably another Blade Master in there, but a really cool comp there. Deathblow actually posted this one with the caption of "I can't believe this one," and it's just tier 3 Trist with Blade Master, a Jinx with Blade Master, a Gangplank, just the like straight up Blade Master Gunslinger comp. So
it's a very interesting spatula options there, Deathblow.
I love this comp. This was the old hyper roll assassins type.
Yeah,
of comp,
I'm assuming you got the Frozen Mallet off of Dragon or something.
There's a Frozen Mallet.
Yeah, you probably
there's 3 spatula items here.
And then I like the lone large rod on the Aatrox, ladies, and because that's like, you know, when someone's gotten like frustrated enough to pick a guy up from the carousel, right? that's like got to be that situation.
Yes, you picked him up just for his large rod.
Yeah, you probably had 2 Aatroxes like the whole time.
Yeah.
And then it finally was like, all right, I just got to get it off the carousel. I happen to have large rod on it.
So good. Also notable here, a level 2 Yasuo with 2 other Yasuos on the bench. I don't think that there was probably enough time left in the game to get him to level 3, but just the thought, the possibility is there, and that really makes it worth it. And last, but certainly also probably least, is my comp here. And this looks, so I posted this one because I post all the ones I get first place in, and you guys should too in the Discord. Post your comps. But this looks like a pretty standard like Rangers Elementalist comp.
Elementals, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like pretty standard. If you saw how this game played out, it was like one of the wackiest games I've ever played. Like, I started out like hard gunslingers. Like, I was going for a level 3 Lucian, like who I had items stacked on. I had gangplanks, I had pirates, I had all this stuff. And then like I opened a pack with 2 ashes, and I'm just like,
that's saying something.
I'm gonna buy them here because I don't remember why, but it was basically a free roll. Like, I'm like, I will essentially pay 1 gold of interest that I would be getting to invest into these 2 ashes. Then the next pack I opened had the 3rd ash and 2 kindreds in it, and I'm like, well, I mean, it's just gonna happen. And it was weird. So like I started building those. I never got a Mordekaiser, which was so
that's why
weird.
your Karthus is in the lineup.
Right. I eventually, like, I got a Karthus before I ever got a Mordekaiser. So I put the Karthus in, and I'm playing this weird comp. And then I ended up getting a level 2 Karthus. I put a Ludens on it, and that was what I was talking about earlier. That is a kaboom. A kaboom boom is level 2 Karthus with the Ludens, because I did not realize that the Ludens splashed off of all of those things. I didn't know how it was going to work, but it worked exactly how I wanted it to, and exactly how my opponents did not want it to. So I also accidentally kept a Garen in instead of like a level 2 Poppy, because for no reason other than I'm a dum-dum, and I sold the Poppy instead of the Garen because I wanted 2 knights. So just a really weird game that I literally, I mean, I say this almost every time I get first. I thought I was going to get 8th here. But
So if the moral of the story is even you can be diamond.
True.
So.
The moral of the story is that you do not need to have any sort of strategy. You don't really need to have any sort of game knowledge. You don't even need to know what you're doing at all. You can get diamond. I believe in you because I have done it. So, but with that being said, that's going to be it for the episode, guys. Remember, we've said it before. We'll say it again. We are part of the Prediction Esports Network. Make sure you are listening to us on that. Go to your favorite podcast provider and type in Prediction with 2 E's. We'll come up, subscribe there, and download the episode. Let's be number 1. Let's be the number 1 show on there. There's a lot of really great shows and a lot of really talented folks on the network. But let's solidify our spot here. Also, leave a review there as well. Please, please, please do. If you have any questions for us, Boop, where can people find you on the internet to pester you on the internet?
Twitter.com/Booposaurus Rex.
Yes, you can find me at League of Blev, and you can also tweet at the podcast at LIL Legends Pod on Twitter. Follow us there too. Follow us on all the places. You know, it's just good. But the Discord is our home. All of our links are on the Discord again, discord.me/Little Legends Podcast. But that is going to be the end of the show. I hope you guys liked it. Next week is going to be a big one. One of the biggest patches we've had, I think, ever, possibly, in Teamfight Tactics, but we'll
probably
be
since
here.
the Hextech patch.
Probably since, yeah, potentially even bigger. I don't know. It not as many heroes, but definitely going to be a big one. We'll see you guys here. Make sure that you are listening and all that good stuff. But until then, we will see you guys in the Discord and on Teamfight Tactics. Bye-bye.